The military dictatorship took place in March of 1976 and to 1983. And it was brutal in the sense that they inaugurated a new technique of repression, which is to disappear the people. Not leaving archives, not leaving any trace. Anybody that was young was suspected. I remember having to go to a school. I was a high school teacher, and I went with jeans to teach, and somebody says, they are coming, go out and change your jeans. So anybody that had a beard, that was wearing jeans and that was young, it was target to disappearance. The first organization to resist the dictatorship was the madres and abuelas, mothers and grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo, that initiated a very interesting phenomenon because they fuel within the motherhood and the grandmotherhood and the religious character of the right to look for their children, they imbue it with a political content. They initiated the DNA to find the grandchildren of their disappeared parents. And so far, 112 has been recovered, and there are many more that are possibly, they say, between 300 and 500 children of disappearers. So that has been a major innovative resistance strategy that women, without denying their gender roles, infuse it with a political value. And after the World Cup that took place in 1978 in Argentina, it came out in the open through the international press of the cases of the disappearers. Even today, they continue to march. They inaugurated the white scarf, which is a sign of peace, and they march every Thursday around the Plaza de Mayo to demand peacefully for their children. And it's very interesting how middle-class women manage to be imbued with a political agency. That is very different from different kind of feminism. In Latin America, the female issues always live on a second level, the gender issues, and first by the political issues. Always take precedence the political issues because of the political experience. The poor Alfonsín was cornered, and he declared the theory of the two evils. So ley de obediencia debida. which the generals did it out of duty, and then under Menem they did the indulto, el olvido a los militares, the forgetful of that trial. So under Kirchner they were reopened, and a series of detention centers has been revealed and turned into museums. The most noted one is the Escuela de Mecánica de la Armada, which is a major compound in downtown Buenos Aires that belonged to the Navy, and it was a major detention center, particularly for high intellectual militants. The period of celebration and the restoration was very short-lived under Alfonsine government. That was the first democratic government, and but he has to resign in 1989 because of the hyperinflation. And then was succeeded by Carlos Menem, that installed the most neoliberal model of government in Argentina. It was the responsible of privatizations of large state enterprise, and it lasted until 1999. So it was a decade of very short-lived celebration of democracy, and then to go back to a major neoliberal model that created greatest inequality, whose resonance is still today, because there are generations of Argentinians that have not worked, their parents, their grandparents, and their children. So that fuel for a new populist wave to emerge. Under the Kirchner era, I don't know, to tell you the truth, if there is a truly resistant movement. At the moment, it's about negotiating to reformism more than. So I think we can conclude that the resistant movement inspired from some utopian radical power had given rise to a more pragmatic way to see how to insert small reforms into the civil society. So I think I don't want to preclude, because I don't know what the contingencies of history will lead us, but with this pink wave in Latin America, the utopianism of the 1960s, 1970s, even 1980s in Nicaragua have ceded to a more pragmatic, to dirty the hands into the real governments of what means to run a country. And this is when the complexity, the big powers, the alliances come into place. Knowing that we cannot emulate the Republican tradition of democracy like Europe or North America or even Canada, because there is from the 19th century, there is a great thread of caudillismo, of big leadership that have a charisma to get to the people, and middle class or upper class that are still very linked to barbarism, to consider the mestizo, the darker skin, the Creole, a different, still resonate very much civilization and barbarism. I never voted. So I was always growing up with military dictatorship. So I don't know what it is to vote. That's why here I exercise my vote for municipal, for everything at any levels. And I think people should, Canadian citizenship should really be aware of the power of the vote. Yeah?